Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us here today for the release of the final Court of Inquiry findings into the sinking of HMNZS Manawanui off the coast of Samoa last October. Chief of Navy Rear Admiral Garen Golding and Court of Inquiry President Commodore Mel Ross will talk to you through those findings. But before I do, I want to thank all those involved in both the response and the inquiry. Firstly, to the government and people of Samoa, I would like to convey our deepest appreciation for your assistance and support. From the brave first responders to the local businesses and communities who have aided our teams on the ground as part of that ongoing work, thank you. Their actions and those of a number of people on the Manawanui meant it was a terrible day rather than a tragic one. Because of those actions, all those on the ship that night made it home to their loved ones. I have been told of numerous acts of bravery, and I'm sure that in time these acts will be shared and recognised in the appropriate way. I would also like to thank all those involved in conducting the inquiry in such a professional and timely way. This was an incredibly serious incident, and I am confident that the investigation has been appropriately thorough. This incident shines a light on the importance of the work that our military personnel do and the very real risk they face as they go about doing their job. New Zealanders expect our Defence Force steps up when needed, but they do so with very real risk, and I want to acknowledge that service and sacrifice. This Court of Inquiry is an important next step in our response to this incident, and it is crucial that we learn from it. I am confident we will. I will now hand over to Commodore Ross and Rear Admiral Golding to discuss the final findings.
The last time I spoke here in November, I committed to you that when it came to the grounding and sinking of Manawanui, we were going to own it, fix it, and learn from it. I've said from the outset that we'd make this Court of Inquiry public, and today I'm doing it as part of owning it. Shortly I'm going to touch on how we have already begun to fix some of the areas that have been identified and the lessons that we have learned and will continue to learn. It's now on us to provide the reassurance at all levels that we have made the changes required to ensure we continue to do our work safely and efficiently. Mission first, safety always. We will have a relentless focus on continued improvement through a deliberate plan that addresses critical areas first. From there, we will also employ a longer-term focus on developing a holistic and effective risk management system that progressively improves both risk tools and training. I want to assure everyone, including, most importantly, the Navy and the wider Defence Force, just how seriously I'm taking the response to this report. The safety of our people and the missions we undertake are my main priority.
Has anyone spoken to officials in Samoa and offered an apology on what's happened?
So we've been constantly engaged with the Samoan government and officials we put in a senior officer over there, Commodore Andrew Brown, and he remains engaged regularly throughout that. We've also given them an advanced warning of this report and the findings of it as a courtesy.
What's been their reaction to the report?
They've only just received it as at the same time you have, so I'm unable to comment on that at this stage.
And do you have an understanding of the environmental damage that this incident caused?
So we've undertaken independent testing of the environment around Manawanui, and that independent testing finds that there is no evidence of contamination.
Is there any conversation around potential compensation for the villages that have been affected by this? Because
Yes.
they feel that their livelihoods have been.
It's not something that I can get involved in as Defence Minister, but I understand that we have a lot of discussions at the Foreign Ministry end and Prime Minister end with the Government of Samoa. I think it would be unwise for me to get involved in that.
So who can speak to that?
That would be the either probably the Foreign Minister, actually.
There's nothing in there that surprised me in a sense that that was not I wasn't prepared for. But as I've said right throughout this, for me it's just owning it, fixing it, and learning from it, and making sure that we don't repeat it.
If I don't know nias, if I long o le saunoanga le tamaita minsta o le puipuinga lau tele in New Zealand. Ono o saunoanga whapeo o se taui mo le tumalo sa fata o any compensation. O lo ta otol nai wao o matanga ruenga o Foreign Affairs a malo e lua. O le whanonoanga la pe i la ho i le nei lava whatanoanga atoa. O tele iwa ai se nganga e manatu mai maftianga o le tumalo. O pei lava o se mea noa me le tupu. Al whala laven tupu, o le human error. Wa umo fuin whamau nia, wa whalea ngaina le ngata i whale o sa whata. Wa whalea ngaina. Ai pita i nei lava whatananga ngā atoa. E pei la tal noa mo mea lei mo la to mea whai. Lei e mas tal noa. Po ala ngono le tumalo le a whaina. I o la to so i fuanga. E tu sai mal fa mo me le o te tal noa ma le whanoa noa. E wai o mal temine. E lei ma se tala e tasi mai malo i lua. Po la se fua fuanga i le tumalo mo na afianga ni tau. Ya pe o se tulanga na e whanoa noa. Me lea, e le tu ai le tau whai le tumalo. Lo tal no pelan komiti ngā lue. Ua whai foi tal noanga ma mātou loia. Mātou tilo po la se so ninga. Ina ima whaina tau alo mai a malo e lua. E tu sai maftianga le tumalo.
A series of human errors led to the sinking of the HMNZS Manawanui off the coast of Samoa last October. That's the final finding of the Court of Inquiry. The ship with 75 on board was conducting a reef survey when it foundered. The direct cause? The autopilot wasn't disengaged when the ship had been put on a heading towards land. Contributing factors included a lack of training and experience, the crew person in charge not qualified as a survey planner and with insufficient navigation qualifications, and there was a lack of efficient risk management. Incorrect procedures and inadequate preparedness aggravated the issue. The focus was on achieving the mission without the balance of doing it safely. The state of the ship wasn't a factor in the sinking. The findings have implications for the wider Navy. Corazon Miller has more on that and the response from Samoa.
The Manawanui engulfed in flames moments before it rolled and slipped beneath the waves.
Oh, look, it's going down.
It had run aground the evening before in rough seas. The Navy today open and frank about what went wrong at an individual and organisational level.
The risk management culture was found to be deficient and weighted heavily on achieving the mission, without the necessary balance to ensure the mission was completed safely.
Despite the Navy's clear failings, officials said it was important to recognise the bravery and courage of those on board and locals who came to the rescue.
Their actions and those of a number of people on the Manawanui meant it was a terrible day rather than a tragic one.
But locals in nearby Tawhitoala village say the environmental damage has been tragic and there's concern for those who rely on the sea to make a living.
I'm for sure it takes a long time to repair the damage that has been done in our environment, our tourism, fishing and the livelihood of our people.
More than 300 tonnes of diesel was on board when the vessel sank, visible leaks seen in the days after. Officials today say the water's since been given the all clear.
Independent testing finds that there is no evidence of contamination.
We can say that we can feel safe and confident that New Zealand has taken ownership of it.
The Court of Inquiry has given a number of recommendations it hopes will overhaul the Navy.
Mission first, safety always.
These include a review of the risk management framework, a review of the education and training of personnel, and of the life-saving related policy and practice.
It's a bad day for the Navy. Our reputation has taken a hit.
But the Navy and government officials have stopped short of a formal apology. In a statement, Foreign Affairs Minister Winston Peters says he acknowledges the local community's concerns, but is unable to make any comment on compensation as dialogue is ongoing with the Samoan government.
Very disappointing, very sad, very unhappy. We need a lot of assistance and help from the government of Samoa and the government of New Zealand so we can go back to where it was.
An avoidable disaster with lasting repercussions. Corazon Miller, One News.
Well, our districts felt very frustrated. It's just because we don't receive any response from both government, New Zealand and the government of Samoa. Since then, we didn't receive any assistance from both government. And it's very sad for me and to hear the Defensive Minister of New Zealand stated that the compensation lies with government. But she is the minister of the government. And I feel very sad what this leader of the government stated on the press conference. And we are waiting for so long, the District of Safata, to hear what the both government think about Safata and the disaster they have been facing in the livelihood of our people. So that's the negative part of this whole situation. Yeah.
What would you like to see being done?
Well, I'd like to recover the whole thing and just to give something to show their concern and a token of apology, nothing.